Excellent.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Just for everybody's information, it is live on YouTube.
I've got 9 of us on the screen.
Yeah, I think Saquon just dropped.
Yeah, so
He was
Well,
logged
that's
in
so
until
close.
we got it on YouTube.
with us so close together, I should have worn a mask.
I'll keep my picture up there without the video so I don't scare everybody. And Rick, I don't think this will be a problem, but I have a hard stop for another 1 o'clock meeting. So if it looks like it's going to go longer than that, I'll have to drop off.
Okay. Since this is normally not a month we meet in, we deliberately kept the agenda short, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Perfect.
Hello.
Hey, Blanche.
How's everybody? Oops. Popping.
All is well.
All right. Is there a click going on that anyone else hears?
Yeah, I hear it. I'm not sure where it's coming from.
What are y'all hearing?
A click.
Repetitive click.
No.
I'll mute if it continues on. I'll just mute everybody. You don't have to wave at me if you want to talk.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. This is Cheryl. Can someone tell me who is signed in as Miles?
She's muted right now, but that's Vanessa.
It's Vanessa.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
I have 1 o'clock, but I'll give everybody a couple of minutes here to get logged in and connected with their audio. I assume Jimmy was joining us. Does anybody know that not to be true?
Yeah, I haven't heard one way or the other, but I was expecting it. And it's 12 here as opposed to 1.
12, sorry. Give him a couple more minutes here and then we'll get started.
Hey, Virginia.
Hey, I can't see y'all. I don't know. It's different this time. I usually get a number to dial.
We saw you for a minute while your audio wasn't connected, but now that your audio is connected, it's just showing as iPhone 2.
Okay.
But we can hear you fine.
Okay, that's fine. You don't need to see me.
Put it to 13. Yeah. I'd say go on and start,
I'm on my Zoom meeting.
and then others will join if they can.
Okay. We'll go ahead and get started. I just muted Virginia there. I'll unmute her here in a second. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Just a reminder that this is being streamed live on YouTube. This is the July 20th meeting of the Tuscaloosa Public Library Board of Trustees. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the proposed agenda. Pat makes a motion to approve that. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second from Jimmy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the draft minutes from the June 15th meeting. If you have not had a chance to look at that, just take a second to look at that and let me know if there's any modifications that might be needed.
One small correction under new business, it says the committee consisting of, I would say the nominating committee consisting of, just add nominating. Verification.
Okay. Is there any other suggestions or modifications?
Rick, this is Olympia.
Yes.
Cheryl sent out the minutes June 18th, and then she had 3 corrections, and in her email she said the corrections would be made to the final draft, and that was removing Blanche from being absent and making Mark's title Mr. and adding Beth Miller as being absent at that meeting. So with that understanding, I move the adoption of the June 15th minutes as corrected.
Got a motion by Olympia. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Terry. All in favor of adopting the modified agenda? I mean minutes, I'm sorry. Any opposed? All right, that passes with the suggested modifications there. The next item on the agenda are the financials. I guess I'll go through these again. If you'll look through the packet there for the P&L by previous year comparison, if we look at the gross profits for June 20, it's $539,322.54. This is quite an increase from the previous month, and I assume this is part of the issue with the financials we had last time, that there was nothing to report in May.
Yes.
So I'm assuming everything was listed in June here.
Yeah, if you look up at the top of that profit and loss page under ordinary income expenses, Tuscaloosa City and Tuscaloosa County, both those entries, if you compare them to the June 19th expected, they're double. The May checks basically lagged getting here with our reopening. We've been picking up the mail and then we restarted regular delivery and apparently lost about a week before those checks came in. But the May checks did come, and that shows the May ones and the June ones, which is why you see the big bump.
I thought last month we decided that we are going to pick up those revenues for May and have an accurate May statement.
I know that that was discussed. This is outside my expertise, so I'll allow you guys to.
Basically at the time the packet was mailed, that was the accurate reflection from what we've received. By the time y'all had the packet, we had those checks. And so they chose to put them into this month's report. But if you want, we can do an edited one for the official records, because the checks were sent at the correct time. We just didn't get them here till after that packet had gone out.
Yeah, I understand that you didn't get after the packets went out, but we talked about this last month. And I personally think May should be reflective of what May was.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree from a consistency standpoint. I believe we should correct May and
All right,
June.
so we'll get, that means, yes, we'll do a corrected May and June. And we'll reflect
All right,
that.
so I won't go through the P&L for now until we get those corrected, and can discuss those at the next meeting. If we move on to the balance sheet, total assets, $458,028.37. If you look at the funds in reserve on the next sheet, $749,095. Donor and board designated funds, $120,855. And then the endowment there is $25,644. The Raymond James account as of May 31st was $562,422 for a total cash of $2,452,778. On the next sheet, the total designated funds would be $749,095. And then the total undesignated cash at the bottom there, $1,447,335. And you can see the latest statement in there from the Raymond James account, about $569,000. Any questions or comments or anything else to add with the financials outside of correcting the P&L statements for May and June?
Yes.
Hey, could I ask that when those corrections are made, that you go ahead and send those out and we don't wait another month until we see the corrected May and June?
Okay.
All right, anything else with the financials? And I would, I guess we don't need to file these for audit yet until we get them corrected and approved at the next board meeting.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is the executive director's report. Rick, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. We are on track to have our computer lab reopen in a limited way starting tomorrow. I included in the packet the basic guidelines that we'll be using. We'll have 2 computers that are to be quick use, so you're limited to 15 minutes or less. And then 6 other computer lab terminals will be set up with a 30-minute limit. And we'll be stations will be spaced out, so there's at least 6 feet between them. Effectively, it'll be every other station. And we won't be doing one-on-one assistance. Back before the virus, it wasn't uncommon for our lab monitor to sit down with a patron if they had a specific issue. And during this period, you'll have to conduct that sort of assistance verbally and at a distance. We are going to cover the keyboards with a plastic bag, basically, so that the bag can be wiped down regularly without coating the keyboard with disinfectant every time. And we have begun curbside service at Weaver, and we're looking to restore at least limited operations inside the building at both Weaver and Brown in August. Right now, it looks like we'll be able to do it the first week of August, but there's still a couple of wrinkles to be ironed out. We were able to apply for a Nick's Kids grant, and I got word that we were chosen as one of the recipients. I don't know the exact amount. We requested $2,000, and the awards letter that I got, just the email notification, only said we had been selected. It didn't specifically mention the amount, but we should be receiving that in the mail in the next few weeks. And the grant, we requested funds to be able to do services like the nature backpacks. And I gave you a description of what those are, and then also the take and make craft bags. And while both these have been popular, and I expect we'll use the funds to help extend that, we're also not limited to just these two projects. Children's Department will be working on other sort of takeaway programming they can do with that assistance. In the statistics that were in the packet, if you look at the door count, we've seen a steady increase each week. And because of that, we have begun to slowly increase the number of patrons that we're allowing in the building. Last week, we were up to 35, and the plan by August is to get it up to 50. Been increasing it about 5 a week. In terms of the sort of state guidelines that say a building needs to stay under 50% occupancy, just the Rotary Room has an occupancy that's around 200. So 50 is less than a quarter of the occupancy for that one room, and still has us well below those margins for the main building. But we're adjusting sort of based on how tight it feels when you have the patrons in, because they do tend to congregate in specific areas. But the expectation is that 50 will still leave us plenty of comfort room. Up until 2 weeks ago, we only had hit the 30 number a few times and for no more than 5 minutes at a time. But about 2 weeks ago, we hit 30 and stayed there for about an hour, which is why we went on and raised it to 35. And again, why we're looking at increasing it slowly up to 50. But overall, I've been pleased with the turnout and usage. And hopefully when we get the other branches open, there'll be a little more normalcy for everybody. Do y'all have any specific questions about the report?
Rick, have you heard
questions,
anything
or-
else from the? Yeah, I do. Rick, have you heard anything else from the city about the budget? expectations for next year. I assume that we turn that in at the end of June, right?
Yeah, I got the budget request turned into the city and to the county. I have not heard anything back from the city yet, but given the timeline that the mayor had sent out, I don't think we will hear from them until probably September. Normally, they would have me come in and do the defense of it in August, but the timeline that the mayor had put out looks like they'll be doing their departmental review at that point, and so it'll probably be early September before they start calling on the outside agencies. I did
Thank
get
you.
a query back from the county. Their request hadn't asked us to predict any kind of cut, and so initially we put in a level funding budget for them, but they were aware that the city had asked for the reduced budget, and so I sent them a copy of that as well.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments for Rick? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Rick. The next item on the agenda is an update from the Friends of the Library. I don't think I have anything. I'm not sure if you have an update, Rick. I'm not sure if they've met since we last
They
discussed.
haven't. They are scheduled to meet tomorrow by Zoom, and they seem to be on track to reopen the bookstore in that first week of August. Assuming that all that goes the way they're planning, they'll do a sidewalk sale at the same time they do their reopen, and they've got a surplus of donations, and so we're hoping that that'll give them an opportunity to sort of sell down some of the stock so they don't have to dispose of too much ahead of time. And they're at least going to consider maybe doing a couple of closed sales for the Friends membership and possibly staff. If they do, we'll send word to the board as well. But
All right.
We'll learn more about that tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the TPL Foundation. They did hold a meeting on June 25th via Zoom.
Yes.
I attended that, so I'll do what I recall, and you guys can help me out if I miss anything. So two things really that I took away from that was the foundation was brought up to speed on the budget issue and the potential proposed cuts from the city and the county. And we discussed a little bit about support and help, financial help. Basically said that the foundation is in full support of the library, but kind of wanted to hold off on a firm commitment until we knew exactly what the budget was going to look like. And then the other thing that was discussed was a need to have the board bylaws reviewed for the foundation. Right now, somebody serves, I believe, until they resign or step down, which makes it somewhat awkward. I also think there's some language in there that a majority of that board needs to be composed of TPL board members. And so it seems that the non-TPL board members stay on, so the numbers get a little lopsided, and there's really no way to have somebody gracefully rotate off of that. So
yeah.
I think that they were going to have those looked at and then make some suggestions for updating those. Is there anything
Also,
else?
we talked about the chairman needed to be a member of the board.
Yes, there were sort of four things. One, we need to get an alignment between the library bylaws and the foundation's bylaws. There's a stipulation in the library bylaws that addresses that aspect of the chairman of the foundation needs to be a sitting board member that was not in the bylaws for the foundation. So that's one of the corrections. And then, as Rick mentioned, we'll be looking at adopting term limits, because right now, if someone who is on the library board and on the foundation board leaves the library board, it effectively makes a double bump in terms of the account of trying to keep that number balanced in the foundation board. So we'll change the language and the way that functions so that that doesn't automatically happen every time going forward. And then we'll also clarify whether the ex officio members count toward that balance or not.
Ex officios generally don't have a vote.
No, well, it depends on how it's cataloged or categorized in the bylaws, but the question here wasn't whether they vote, it was whether they count toward the requirement of having sitting board members being represented on the foundation board. And it doesn't matter which way it goes, it just needs to be clarified.
Also, there was concern expressed about voting electronically, so we need to address that.
And we want to update both sets of bylaws, the library board and the foundation ones, with the idea of modern technology sort of impacting how that's worded in both sets of bylaws.
That's something that we definitely need to be sure to run by our attorney, the electronic voting, because frankly, I'm just not sure what the rules on that are.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll have the attorneys look at any of these changes ultimately.
Is there someone looking at the bylaws and putting together a draft of proposed changes?
Yeah, I'll have a staff develop proposed ones, and then we'll let the committee from the foundation review that before they vote on it.
When would we expect to have those, Rick?
I'd hope in the next 2 weeks. We
need to have our
on getting the branches and the lab open, so that had taken a back seat. But now that we've got the lab mostly worked out, we'll put that as a priority.
We need to be sure to have our attorney look at that before the foundation board votes on it.
Yes. Yeah, I'll probably, like I say, have the committee look at it and then have the lawyer vet that before they vote.
That sounds good.
Well, I think right now we're not in adherence, right?
Yes, I think that is correct.
So
The nominating committee was going to look at recommendations for addressing that as sort of part of what they were going to look at.
Or that was in regard to the chairman.
Oh, okay. And we'll need to get that balanced out as well.
So maybe we can put some timelines around that, have a draft of those in 2 weeks for the foundation committee to review with the plan to try and get those to the attorney, and have another foundation meeting in about a month's time to consider those.
Yes. I'd say we'll set that meeting as soon as we get it finalized and vetted by the lawyer. So yeah, ideally a little faster than a month, but certainly within a month.
Okay, appreciate that. Is there anything else or any other comments with regards to the foundation? All right. The next item on the agenda are committee reports. As far as I'm aware, none of the committees have met, although the personnel committee is scheduled to meet this coming Friday.
Correct.
Are there
That's
any
going to be
other?
a Zoom meeting, Terry?
That's right.
Okay.
Rick, we're going to
Are there any
discuss
other?
we're going to discuss the executive director's evaluation from last year, and then we will schedule a time to meet with Rick Freeman.
All right. And I assume there's nothing else to report from the other committees?
No.
All right.
Outstanding.
The next item.
Yeah.
The next item on the agenda is unfinished business, and I'm turning it over to Jimmy for a report from the nominating committee.
Yes, the nominating committee met, and the slate that we would like to offer to the board is for next year, Terry Tompkins to be president. I will be vice president. Blanche will be secretary, and Virginia treasurer.
Can I ask for a point of personal privilege? In regards to my election, if it should happen, because I know you still need to open it to the floor, I have reached out to a reputable accountant to help me in compiling all of our reports that we get, all those sheets of paper on finances, and come up with a one-page summary on top of all the other reports. And he is Jack DeWitt, and he is willing to do it for free.
Ah, that'd be excellent.
And since it's a matter of public record what our finances are, I didn't see a problem or conflict. But I would personally feel comfortable with that if it's, you know, acceptable by the board.
Now, this a summary, sort of a summary?
Yes, this is something I had asked Brad Springer to do, but he was so used to, I mean, he was a comptroller and he had a far better understanding of finances than I. And I think that it's smart to have an accountant help us and then have Mac Hitt do the audit. I mean, and especially since Jack's willing to do it for free. He does some free work, and he has a emotional attachment to the library as it is because of somebody who had served on the board for years that he helped. Do y'all find that objectionable?
Not me.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it sounds great. We've been wanting to sort of work out a way to cull that down to just one or two sheets. So that
Well, that way we don't flip through all the papers, although we will still give the same information to the board. We'll have that one-page summary for the report.
yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, now
See,
I
she's
guess.
already working as treasurer.
No, I'm just saying that was a condition of my taking the position. But now you need to open it to the floor, I'm sure.
Yeah, Rick, that's the report from the nominating committee.
Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that. So we'll open that up to the floor just to make sure everybody and I caught this correctly. The recommendation is Terry as president, Jimmy for VP, Blanche as secretary, and Virginia's already wrapped up the treasurer there.
Oh, no,
Open the floor up for any comments or suggestions. Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the proposal?
So move.
Got a motion
Second.
by Pat. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Terry Olympia. Somebody?
Terry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any of those opposed? So the motion passes. Congratulations to everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
we're gonna miss you, Rick.
Well, I will miss you
Very
all as
much.
well. I appreciate that.
That's right.
Rick, Rick, this is Olympia. Jimmy,
Wait, she got muted.
say that again, Olympia? I think you muted yourself or got muted.
My bad. Jimmy, are you going to mention the foundation chair nominee and the 2 members for the board? Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm listening to you. I honestly forgot what we decided about the foundation board. What did we decide, Olympia?
Terry was going to be nominated for chair, and Stan and Blanche were nominated for the 2 members from the board.
That's right. That's right.
Of
So
the foundation board?
Yes.
Who's rotating off?
Well, we already were down 1 from when Harry came off this board, but was still on the foundation.
And then Pat would rotate off.
Right.
Okay.
Do we
So what do we, wait a minute, what do we do?
You
Nobody
will
asked me
serve
about
as
this.
a sitting board member on the TPL Foundation board, concurrent with being on the library board.
Okay.
Blanche, we have to have a certain number of board members.
Yeah,
on the foundation board.
I get that, but I just need to know specifics about it, but I can ask about that later. Okay.
All right, my question is, don't we want to have somebody different as the foundation board chair? Somebody different from the library board chair?
Not necessarily. It works pretty well to have it be the same person if the same person's life allows that to be.
Well, that's the key.
Well, we
If
don't
it's not,
meet that
then
often,
it doesn't
Terry.
have to be, yeah.
Was Harry the chair of the foundation board when he was the chair of the board of
Yes.
trustees?
But
Yeah.
it was
Yes.
primarily because he was chair of the library board that he became the first chair of the foundation.
Gotcha.
So who else is gonna be on the foundation board other than Terry and me?
Well, Jimmy's on it and I'm on it, and then there are 2 or 3 that are not on the board.
Yeah, we'll get you a
Well-
foundation packet.
Okay, all right, that'll be
Hey,
sufficient.
Blanche.
Yeah,
Blanche, part of the issue is that when we got to looking at, we needed more people from the library board to be on the foundation board to meet the requirement. And we got to looking at the library board members and the ones that are coming up to, their term is over. They didn't leave Minneapolis, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So those of us who are still remaining are the ones that kind of got appointed to the foundation board. Does that make sense?
okay. You're such a good salesman.
Isn't he? It's like he should be in advertising.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
Duh.
That's a real.
I assume this is not something that that this board needs to vote on, correct?
Oh, yeah, I'm the chairman.
I would think so.
Well, the officers of the foundation will be voted on by the foundation, but that we need to have it addressed. So if Terry is willing, as soon as we meet with the foundation again, we'll have the officers reviewed and we can make that official. In terms of which sitting board members are also on the foundation board, in fact, one of the other things that the library bylaws address that the foundation bylaws don't is anyone on the foundation board is supposed to be vetted by the library board. And so y'all have approved, assuming y'all accept this, y'all have approved these new members for the foundation, and everyone on the foundation should have come through this process. And that's part of where I want both sets of bylaws to point back to each other where they reference each other. And I want the same language in both sets in about the same place so that we don't overlook it like this again. I mean, I was carefully looking at the bylaws for the foundation and we were in accordance with it. but we weren't when I looked at the bylaws for the board. It was down in the committee things, and so I just missed it. And so I want to reorganize both so that that doesn't happen again. But in answer to your question, yes, y'all pick who's on that foundation. So, and then they'll set who they're.
Hey, Rick, I'm not sure, but I think it would be appropriate for the board to approve the appointees to the foundation.
Yes, they do. Huh? I'm sorry.
By vote. By vote.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I so move.
A second.
Let me summarize. So Terry's the chair, Blanche is rotating on, and Virginia and Jimmy are already members of the foundation board. So
Yeah, but
all in
Stan
favor.
also was
And
one
and
to be
Stan-
And Stan Acker.
And Stan Acker.
Stan. Sorry, Stan. So
And
Terry, Blanche, and Stan will be new, and Virginia and Jimmy will continue on.
And who is the motion on this in the second?
I made a motion.
I second.
Virginia made the motion, Jimmy seconds. All in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Again, thank you.
Is there any other unfinished business before we move on? All right. The next item is new business. Does anybody have any new business to bring before the board?
I do. I've got something that I've been thinking about. We need to reappoint committees. And I think our new members are not on committees. And we have several committees where, Brad was on finance, for example, that may have only one member. Cheryl, would you circulate a list of the committees? And then if everyone would respond back to just Cheryl and give your first two preferences for committee appointments, we need to go ahead and appoint new committees. And then I realize that some people may roll off when their appointments are up, but we will just substitute the new people, the new board members as their replacements on those committees. I want to be sure that we've got fully functioning committees, and I'm mostly worried about finance because frankly, I'm not sure who's left on that committee now that Brad is gone, Brad and Harry are gone.
also, Rick, what happened to policies? We just stopped reviewing policies.
Yes, the things got complicated and we let those sort of take a back seat. We've got several that are keyed up, ready to go. So I'll get Calandria back, getting that sort of pipeline working again. We were doing about 4 at a time. It's just during this shutdown, we were trying not to have any meetings that we didn't have to have. So
Sure.
we just paused everything. It wasn't just dire or pending. But this is going to be the new reality for a while, so we'll see if we can't get that moving again.
Okay.
Probably will jump the remote voting thing in line to get it up there sooner rather than later, but otherwise we'll go back to the queue that we had set up.
Any other new business?
Hey, yeah, Rick, last night I was watching the nightly news and they had a segment on a public library. No, it wasn't a public library, it was a school library, actually. I think it was in North Carolina. It was pretty unique that during this pandemic, they were actually, people could go online and check out books and they were being delivered by
drone?
By
Yeah.
drone.
Yeah, I saw.
Really?
There is a
Yeah.
public library that's doing that. There's a couple of services in bigger metropolitan areas that do drone delivery independent of a company that is not just Walmart or Target. They're a third-party delivery. And there is a public library in one of those communities that has adopted that. I love the concept. I don't know of anyone in Tuscaloosa who has the infrastructure for it. But one of the things that my staff are looking at is instead of drones, the bookmobiles aren't going to be able to return to their normal places until our normal locations are accepting an audience and then an outside group to come. So we're beginning to investigate whether we could do delivery to homes using the library vans instead of bookmobiles. But that's the closest we can do right now. But if you're aware of a company that could do the drone side of it, we would be very happy. It's very cool to watch. You can find videos of the process, and it's exciting. But again, I'm just not aware of anywhere in town or in the county that can handle that for us at this point.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right.
What I don't understand,
Any
how did
other,
they return the books?
Yeah, they didn't address that. Presumably they have community bins where they can drop them off. And that is something I would like to mention to y'all. During the shutdown, when we closed the branches, we closed their book drops as well because I didn't have staff who could regularly go check them. But we always kept the book drop at Main open. In the last few weeks, we have actually opened the book drops at both the branches because I've had staff out there getting those branches ready. And since they were there anyway, they were able to check the drops. So we do have all 3 locations accepting returns at this point. So if you have people who ask you about what they can do with their items that have been checked out, now they have 2 more options for where to return them. Also wanted to mention that the Weaver branch had one of the windows get broken, which it's been years since that's happened, but this time it probably the yard workers mowing the yard, but we're not sure. No camera caught the actual event happening, so we can't be sure when it got broken, but we were mowing the yard the day before. I don't have a price quote yet for what it'll take to replace it, but it'll be at least $2,000. It's a double pane window and only the outer pane broke. So in terms of security, the building's fine, but ultimately we will have to replace that window.
Do we have any insurance that covers any kind of accidental breakage like that?
We do. Because it's a rental officially, we don't have the same type policy that we do at Maine on that facility. And I think the limit is about 5,000 for replacement.
Okay.
So one of the things we're going to do is get a copy of that lease to the insurance agent to have him review what we have and whether we need to change or increase it.
That sounds good.
The Brown Branch, because it's fully enclosed in that Miller Center, it's less of an issue there, but certainly with the Weaver one, it's something that we're going to get updated.
Okay.
Just an odd occurrence that wanted to make y'all aware of.
any other new business from anybody?
I have a question. I guess I need to get with our current secretary and obtain her books at some point in time.
Oh, yeah.
Olympia has exceptional books.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll talk, Blair.
And Rick Freeman, Jack and I may be coming in to your office to kind of who does the computerized financial reports?
The business office generally collects them and prepares what you see. They send them to Amy, who is their direct supervisor, and to me, and then we get them into the packet. So if you'll let me know a day or so ahead, I'll make sure that Wendy from the business office and Amy are available as well.
Okay.
We're happy to meet with you whenever you need to.
Okay, I appreciate that.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'll just remind everybody that our next meeting will be August 17th at noon. I appreciate everybody's help and service and time. And if there's nothing else, ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Got a motion by Virginia and a second by Pat. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Again, thank you, everybody. Be safe and take care.
Same to you.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.